My Aunt Aggie breaks the veil of silence and tells her horrors from the Holocaust, from the loss of both her parents to the loss of both her legs. Stay tuned next on The Crossover.
We'll be right back.
For nearly 2,000 years, Jews and Christians have been divided. But now, God is calling for the healing of past hurts and the comforting of His people. Discover how God is prophetically uniting Jews and Christians across the world today on The Crossover. And now, here is your host, Rosalie Giroux.
The most impactful aspect of Aunt Aggie's story is her spirit. She is such a beautiful person and is able to still have faith in God and mankind, considering the horrors of the Holocaust. Perhaps it was because of family and the few bystanders that chose to risk and to help. It's a miracle that Aggie has little bitterness and has been able to live a fruitful life in Israel for the past 60 years.
Germans came to our town, Košice, Slovakia. It was in 1939. Until then, we had a good life. We were in school. Father, he was a lawyer and a Jewish man. He could not work like a lawyer. It was not allowed. We were in our house, which was a very nice, good house. I could not go to the university as it was planned by my parents, because Jewish from this time were not allowed to learn at the university. The house we had to leave only in 1944, when the first German soldiers came into the town, and we were put like in a group, and they told us that near the centrum of the town will be a ghetto, and everybody should go alone into the ghetto with only the minimum packages, only a few, might be 2-3 kilograms. It was some gold that we knew that money will be used.
So how long did you stay in the ghetto?
In ghetto, it was might be 2.5 months.
When you were living in Košice, there was a man that escaped from Auschwitz, and he came to your town. Yeah. Tell us about that.
One day we were at home. We didn't knew anything about Auschwitz, and we didn't knew that people were killed there. It was a man about 35, 40 years old, might be only 30 years old, and he came and asked for the first time from mother that he needs some shorts and a coat and some money and something to eat, because he fled on the way. He knew that other people from Poland are taken to Auschwitz, and he fled, and he came to our town, Košice. And what he said, the father and the mother didn't want to believe. It was so terrible, the story, what he said. But after a few weeks, we came to the same place, to Auschwitz, and we saw that every word what he said, it is true. We were in Košice, 12,000 Jewish people from the town and from the surroundings. And we were taken in by train, but the train were like for animals. 60, 70 people were in one place, and we had nothing to eat and nothing to drink for 2-3 days until we arrived to Auschwitz. It was closed. We cannot go out. There everything was a terrible place, and even a toilet was not in the near place, so we had to make our pee-pee and etc. there with other people, and it was one of the humiliating the member, our people, that my friend, a nice young man, was in the same place, and if we had to make our pee-pee, etc., it was one of the terrible things that we had to do it before his eyes. And when we arrived, we were about 10,000 or more people, and we went off in the train, and they put us to make the shower. And later we recognized that not only people who were alive later, but the people who came to gas chamber, they had also to make the shower. Until now, after 60 years, I remember the place, the shower. We had to stay there the whole night and the whole day without clothes and without food, and we could not do everything, and the water was dropped.
Dripping?
I can't tell you more about it, that only after 60 years I feel every moment what happened in this room. We were for many, many hours until the SS soldiers told us, the men, we should go in barracks. They had places where to live.
Were there women soldiers were there women SS soldiers in the showers?
Yeah, women and men, and that was terrible and humiliating what happened to us, but we could not do anything. We were young girls, about 15, 17, 18 years old, but our mothers were with us. It happened when we arrived, and the soldier told to a caliph, to a
dog,
yes, that the mother and the daughter should be separated, and the mother ran to the daughter. The SS woman gave the order to the
dog,
caliph, to the
dog,
to take the girl here, and the girl was dead in one moment on the floor before our eyes. It was to show us what could happen if we are doing something else and not what their order were. So it was terrible, the first moment in Auschwitz.
More of The Crossover when we return.
What happens when so much of what you see in the media is not the truth, and it's overbearingly, blatantly bad or anti-good? And that's why I was really concerned. That's why I think that the crossover can be a powerful instrument in reaching people, because it's actually proclaiming the truth, the positive side of a lot of different things, and reaching out to people.
For nearly 2,000 years, Jews and Christians have been divided. But now, God is calling for the healing of past hurts and the comforting of His people. Discover how God is prophetically uniting Jews and Christians across the world today on The Crossover. The Crossover exists to communicate to the Jewish community that there is a growing group of Christians who love them unconditionally. The focus of the Crossover program is to promote a greater understanding of the differences and similarities between Jewish and Christian customs, history, and theology, while encouraging a closer walk with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. As a second-generation Holocaust survivor, Rosalie's Jewish heritage includes parents who were protected from the Nazis by Christians. Yet for more than a decade, Mitch and Rosalie searched for meaning in life in the New Age movement. But after returning to their Judeo-Christian roots, they discovered God's purpose for their lives: to rebuild bridges between Christians and Jews. Now through TV, radio, the internet, speaking engagements, the healing room, and print and video resources, they are reuniting Jews and Christians in fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Join Mitch and Rosalie as they tackle tough topics and welcome dynamic guests on The Crossover. The Promised Land.
And I also tried to make it very clear to the Christians all over the world that they are threatened to the same extent as the Jews and Israel are threatened. And I also say basically that Jews and Christians are waiting for the Messiah, who is a Jew from Israel who speaks Hebrew. And that Messiah is going to come to Jerusalem. And so Christians share this faith with the Jews.
The Hebraic roots of Christianity.
And we began looking at Jesus through Jewish spectacles and not our Texas spectacles or American spectacles or even Western culture spectacles. He's so much more glorious. He's so much more grand. It does not in any way detract from the fact that he's the Son of God, the risen Savior, but he's also a man.
Never forget.
The Nazis would rent entire trains from New York City. And here you have the train pulling in.
Welcome back to The Crossover.
From the shower, we didn't know that the next room was the room where the gas chamber was preparing the people to die. We didn't know about it, but it happened. And when the next day we were looking where our friends are, people, nobody told us that they are already dead. At the entrance, I have to tell about Dr. Mengele. He was the man who did the selectation, and the selectation came, we were people about 200 in a row.
This is before the shower or after the shower?
Yeah, after the shower.
Okay.
Mengele was at the entrance of Auschwitz. He was a young, nice looking, good looking man. He was like in a concert on a podium, on something high.
A podium.
He stand there. We people came in a row before him. And if he saw young people, he said we should go on the right side. But when he saw somebody, we were women, not men. And he said when somebody was about 35 or 40 or 45 years old, left, and the girls right, and that was life and that was dead. We didn't know that the people left. It was on the same day, on the same hour or 2 hours later, they were dead. And we were in Auschwitz. I was only two days, and then they were transports, and they took us to Birkenau, and from there to Riga and to Danzig. In Riga, they put us in a beer fabric.
A beer factory.
And it was something terrible there. There were soldiers from Ukraine.
From the Ukraine.
And they were exactly like animals with us. And when we went in the evening to eat, we had only soup. But soup was from, I don't know, nothing. Soup, water. And in the night when we went to bed, the light was on, and rats, rats were there. They were dancing on the bed. So we could not sleep. We were afraid, and rats were not 1, not 10. It was the beer fabric, and in every place they were rats. And the bed that we got to sleep, it was about 70 centimeter like that for 2 people.
After Riga, where did you go?
We were in Danzig only for 1 or 2 days, and mother was with us there, father not. In Auschwitz he perished in the gas chamber, but mother was with us, and she was shot later. We marched. Mother could not walk, and then she was shot with others. After it, we came to Stutthof. We came to a place, and it was a lake, and in the lake water, and they were swamps, and we thought that we came for something wonderful will happen to us, but it was only a decoration. After this lake, it was they were gas chambers. My friend, she got a typhus ill, and she was put in the gas. We heard, we didn't see it. At the same day, we went later to another place. It happened a nice thing, I must tell. I had a birthday, and these American and French soldiers.
These were captured American and French soldiers, okay?
They were captured, and we had our way in this direction, and the soldiers came opposite on the other side. And it was my birthday, and what happened? These soldiers, these Americans and French soldiers, they got good food. They had sandwiches, and one of the soldiers threw in the air a sandwich, and I got it. Mm-hmm. And it was like today to have 10 kilo of meat. Right. It was a summer dress.
A summer dress in snowing.
From cotton, and our shoes were worn out. We could not feel even that we are standing. We had typhus, we were ill, and we have diarrhea and nothing to eat, and I became 25 kilo.
Your weight is about 50 pounds.
Yeah, it was the last day then the Germans were, the Nazis were there. The Nazi soldier in January 45, it was about 18 or 19 of January, they left the place, and only they shot the people, but they were people who cannot walk even 1 centimeter. They were put in a room, and everybody knew that they will burn this place, not to leave a sign that they were people alive. But Susie had the strength, and he came to me, to this place. Even she knew that might be she will put with the death.
More of The Crossover when we return.
We're in our last segment here. We have Dr. Robert Fish. And Dr. Fish, just tell us again, one of the humane sides of your story was the peasant woman.
Well, I think that was, we were walking through the Alps. Took us almost some months to walk through, and we get sometimes for days neither food nor even water.
Just walking aimlessly?
Just walking, no. We have walked from the early morning until the sun went down.
Do you have any idea where you were even going?
No, we didn't know that. The reason for all this is called the Dead March. The reason for this was because they did not want us to be liberated. So we had to walk, because the Russians now already at the Hungarian-Austrian border or German border. The Americans already in Germany, so they wanted to squeeze the people from the camp. Even from Auschwitz, people had to go. And so we didn't get for days sometimes food or water, and we threw away the blanket in the morning, and we pick up from the dead people in the afternoon, because anyone who could not walk any further, they just sit down and they trod them on the head. So in one day before we started to go to the walk, an Austrian woman threw apple to us, and you can imagine the people started to scream and running to try to get the apple, and she was shot and killed in front of us. So this is just again an example that people, for absolutely strangers, try to be helpful, even so it was dangerous or deadly. And so this is what I think we should emphasize.
And remember.
In other words, you know, what my purpose of my talks is usually that in order to be respected, you have to respect other people. And then what I try to explain to the young people, that we are born as biological animals. And even if your mother is a good person, you didn't inherit that. You have to learn from it. So it's like the tadpole became a frog. In order to be a human being, you have to learn that. And if you are so smart in the school, why don't you just go home and watch television? Because the brain is not enough, you have to put something in it.
Right. You have to learn to be good or bad.
The other thing is, which is we always talking about, we're going to have another president, or the North Koreans, or whatever. The only change in this world can be done by you. You are the only one who can change, and you can change a few other people. Don't start to me that big changes we want to do in the world. I'm a citizen of the world. Well,
welcome back to The Crossover.
And she took me out. I could not walk. In the evening, before we got the strychnine injections in both hands, until today they are signs, and it was open for 8 or 10 months. It was not healed, and Juji took me. I could not walk, but like a dog is going on 4 from the barrack where we were. But what Susan, it was from God. She took it with her tongue. She sucked it from here,
and spit it out.
She put it, yeah. And so Susie and me, she had also this one in 2 hands. There was no light in the barrack. We were on floor, and they gave the injection, and after a while they came again in the barrack, and they said with the word, German, wer lebt noch? Who is alive, still alive? That they asked. We were on the floor, and they came with the lamp, and they saw who had sign in eyes that is alive. Okay, they came to hit us like in a fish. Susie, God helped her. She got back her conscience, and I could not walk, only on 4. Susie took me with her 2 hands into the forest. It was cold. Susie took me by hand on 4 until a tree, and she told me that she must go and to find out if there is a village who can give us something to drink and something to eat. But she didn't know where we are, no map, nothing. We were never before at that place. What happened? Like in a story, Susie took from the tree the leaves, yeah, and
she made
like
a trail.
In a story for children, she put it on the way on snow to go away to find somebody who will give us to eat and to drink, and to come back in the place where she got the bread from nice people who lived there. They asked to come with a coach and take us to them. The woman, she lived there, not an intelligent professor, she lived there, and she told she will help us because her son is in Russia, and might be somebody will help in Russia for her son. And what she did, she had one room and one kitchen. She gave me and Susie her one bed, and we had in our hairs the living
Lice.
Yeah, and she gave us warm water, and she washed us and gave to eat. And she called the Russian sanitats that they should come with a car, with a jeep, and take me to a doctor. And Susie came with me. But it came a sanitas, it was not a doctor, from Russian army, military, but they saw they cannot do anything, only to make amputation, to cut both legs. So it was no hospital, it was no morphium, it was without anything. In total, I was lying 18 months in bed. Russia, it is a story, another story.
The spirit of Hitler has never been totally destroyed. Anti-Semitism in the form of anti-Israel and hate towards the Jews is at its highest point since World War II. The Jews of Europe are fleeing to Israel in fear. In the United Kingdom, anti-Semitic attacks have increased 42% since 2004. The Presbyterian, Methodist, and Episcopalian churches have all voted to divest funds in Israel, strangling her economy. Anti-Semitism takes on strange features, but the bottom line is that the Jewish people are still cursed by many people, denominations, and nations, even if they do not wear swastikas. God is about to judge mankind, and you want to be on the right side of prophecy, don't you? Support Israel and her people, the apple of God's eye.
You've been watching The Crossover, joining Jews and Christians through their God. For more information on today's program and The Crossover, you can contact Mitch and Rosalie by following the information on your screen. The Crossover team welcomes your comments, prayers, and suggestions. Thank you again for watching The Crossover.